lights out, and we're racing in MotoGP here in Motown. This time around, Marc Marquez does indeed nail the start. He's going to get the whole shot in.
All right, hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Well, what do you think? I'm pretty pumped about this. I really like the scheme. I like the way everything turned out, but man, what a process to get here. And I have to admit, I completely failed you guys with the part 2 of the how to paint a track fairing video series, and let me explain why. I filmed it. I got all the footage, man. I got enough footage to build a complete video, except for that none of it was working. What? After all those years, I thought you were the man. In fact, let's go back and listen to this confident fellow over here with nothing going into it. So you're always getting clean air. And these guns are pretty simple to set up since you have a constant air pressure. Yeah, unfortunately what he didn't know is he was gonna have a problem that he had never seen in 20 plus years of painting. So many years ago, when I started painting, I made mistakes. Everybody does, made all kinds of mistakes. And each time I made a mistake, I learned from it. And so after all those years, I developed a system that worked for me. I don't know if it's the right system. I mean, it generally is, because I've talked to enough painters that said, yeah. But anyways, it's something that always worked for me. All the way up to show level paint jobs where like I was wet sanding with 1500 grit on the clear and buffing it to a mirror shine. And so that system that's worked for that has also served me well for quick jobs and race fairing jobs and things like that. So this time it completely dumbfounded me. From the moment I started spraying, nothing was working. First of all, I wet sanded all the parts and got them nice and smooth and down. So I mean, I was doing everything properly. I was giving it tooth, and I was explaining to you guys how to do it all. So you can see here, I time-lapsed myself wet sanding it. Then I did a wrap-up video. Then I was talking about doing the primer. Well, I set up the tent, started spraying the primer, and already I could tell that I was having some issues. But it was an epoxy primer, and I hadn't used one of those in a long time, and it was a bit thicker, because when I sprayed it, it came out, it didn't really atomize 100% properly, and I was getting quite of a rough surface. So we're gonna keep going at it. Remember, primer's sandable, so as long as you can get it on there, you don't make a big mess, you're okay. So we're gonna get it on, let it cure all week, and then we'll paint the color next week. So even though it's not turning out as awesome as I want it to, since it's primer, I know we can sand it. I'm not worried about it, and I'm just gonna get it done. But again, I figured it was a thicker primer. I'm sanding it down anyways. It's a filling primer, so it's gonna, fill the cracks and things. It might be a little more textured. So after I wet sanded it down, it looked great. And I was like, okay, maybe that's how that primer works. So then I went to lay the color, which the first color I chose was actually darker than this. So I'm glad it didn't work, because I didn't really like the color. But anyways, I started to spray that color. And same thing, I was not getting the atomization I usually get. And I'm like, is the paint thickness wrong? Did I thin it too much? Is it not thin enough? Like, did I use the right nozzle? Like, all these thoughts started to go through my head because the same process I had used for all these years was completely failing me. So I was like, do I continue the video? Because honestly, nothing's working. So I kept filming, but at that point, my goal was just to finish the bike and make it look good, because as much as I'd love to bring you guys videos, this is my bike and I love it and I want it to look nice. So after messing with it and then sanding it down and trying to paint again and then having to sand that down, I went to a buddy's shop, borrowed his gun, his compressor, sprayed the new green, and it came out great. And then it hit me, well, wait a minute. I did the same process I always do here, but at his place, and I just used his gun. That's the only difference. Okay. So I came back home and completely disassembled both of my paint guns. Cleaned every possible thing you could clean, put them back together, and then went to spray clear on my newly painted awesome green, which I then again, of course, wet sanded and made it nice and smooth, ready to accept the clear. So I decided to start with something small like the front fender just to see what was going on, because turbine sprayers spray clear excellently usually. The atomization is awesome, the consistency is awesome, and a lot of times you can get the clear to lay so well you don't even have to buff it if it's not like a show bike or anything. So I spray a couple layers of clear on it and it looks terrible. It looks orange, peely, and bumpy and gross, and I was just frustrated. At this point, I don't know, there's obviously something wrong, but I can't find it. So I wet sand that down after it dried. Fortunately, I had laid enough down that I was able to wet sand it, flatten it out, and then I just went to the store and bought 4 cans of the 2K Clear, the Spray Max stuff, and did this in the front fender, because at that point I just wanted to finish the bike and nothing was working for me. It's not 100% perfect because I didn't go and buff it, I didn't wet sand this, I didn't wet sand and then buff it, you know, all the things to make it perfect because it's a track bike. But again, I'm pretty stoked on the way it came out. All the color you see is just vinyl I got from Amazon, and I hand cut it. I just laid patterns on here, trimmed them, and then cut them down with scissors until they fit, transferred that over to the vinyl and put it on. And then all this stuff that you see here that's actually logos and stuff, I have a Cricut vinyl cutter and I just do it that way. So I did that. This is the result. Now I'm kind of relaxed because the bike's done. But I told you guys I was going to do a video, so I feel like a complete piece of crap. What am I going to do? Well, I guess the thing I can do is to find out what went wrong and then tell you guys what went wrong so that none of you guys, if you're trying to ever do something like this, have that problem. So, what was the problem? Let me show you. This, my extension hose. This is the hose that has the part of the nozzle that goes right onto the gun. It's lighter, it flops over your shoulder to stay out of the way so you can do your spraying. What I had not realized is at some point over the winter or something, somebody, somewhere, something or whatever, put a big ass hole in my hose. So the thing about turbine sprayers is they're great for many reasons. One, it uses turbines that have a constant 7.5 PSI. So as long as they're running and the unit's working, you're getting 7.5 PSI. The second great part about them is since the turbines are moving the air around and stuff, it heats it up, which naturally dries the air. So now you're not getting any condensation in your lines, which then gets into your paint. So when it's working, it's a very convenient, very clean system that atomizes paint great and lays it down awesomely. But if you have a giant hole in your hose and the gun's only getting 2 PSI, maybe 3 PSI, the atomization properties go away fast and the paint gun won't work. Well, I'm sure you're asking, well, how could you not hear a giant hole? Well, if you think about a turbine sprayer, there's basically 5 to 7 jet engines inside of a box, electric, but still. So a hole spraying air out doesn't sound any different than the unit running. So I had no idea that I was losing that much air. So as crazy as this sounds, this made me feel so much better because I know that my process was not the problem. It was the equipment. And now I'll know to always double check all my hoses before I go and paint. So I guess, lesson learned, it's maybe sometimes worth it, especially when the end result turned out pretty good. So, what have we learned? Double check all your equipment, and if you know a process works, trust it. So at that point, remove the process out of the problem and look at what else could be the problem, and sure enough, that was it. So, if it works, it ain't dumb. This time nothing worked, but I stuck with it, and it's not dumb. So do I have a tip? Check your equipment, wet sanding, wet sand everything. That's what saved this bike and enabled me to bring it and have the finish that it has right now. So, all right, we're moving on. We're gonna start doing some track days. They're coming up in a few weeks. I did give up on GP shift. I'm gonna do a little video about that. I've been running around the neighborhood because I live in the middle of nowhere. There's no cops around here, so I'm trying to get used to the bike a little bit. So I went out just kind of cruising around. And as soon as I got into the turns and my brain started to get into like race mode, my leg was like, I know how to do this, and completely shifted wrong every time. I don't want to have that happen on the track. I don't want to have something take away from my experience of learning how to ride on the track. I don't want to have to learn how to shift and learn how to ride on the track at the same time. It sucks, but I ended up getting some really nice ones. So check back, we'll do a quick video on that. So, all right, but anyways, I'm super happy with this. I think it looks great. Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you guys have any interesting stories about paint where you were able to find out what happened, go ahead and give me some of those down there too. All right, well, until the next time, if it works, it ain't dumb, and this one worked, sorta. I mean, I guess it didn't work, but I made it work, so that wasn't dumb. All right, we'll see you on the next one.